I always told myself I would never end up in a nursing home. Not because I thought they were bad places, but because I believed my family would never let me feel abandoned. I thought my children would care for me the way I cared for them when they were small. That was the promise John and I clung to when we were young. Raise them with love, and when the time comes, they will return it. But promises are fragile things. When John passed, I felt the walls of our home close in. The silence grew heavy, and loneliness became my shadow. Still, I told myself at least I had my children. At least I would not be forgotten. For a while, they visited. My daughters brought groceries, my son mowed the lawn. But as months turned into years, their visits grew less frequent. Excuses piled up: work, kids, travel. I began to feel like a chore, something to be checked off a list. Then one afternoon, they sat me down at the kitchen table. My eldest cleared his throat, the way John used to when he had something unpleasant to say. "Mama," he began, "we've been talking. We think it's time you move into a home. Somewhere you'll be safe, with people to look after you." Safe. That's the word they used. But I heard what they didn't say: "You're too much trouble for us." I wanted to scream, to remind them of all the nights I stayed awake nursing their fevers, the sacrifices John and I made so they could go to school, the meals I skipped so they would never go hungry. But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I nodded, tears burning behind my eyes. A week later, they packed my things into boxes. Not carefully, not with thought, but hurriedly, as if my life's treasures were nothing more than clutter. I held John's sweater to my chest, breathing in the faint scent that still lingered, and whispered, "I'm sorry, love." I tried to keep our home. The nursing home was clean, bright, filled with people my age. Some smiled, some stared blankly, some cried softly in their rooms. The staff were kind enough, but they were not my family. They could feed me, bathe me, medicate me, but they could not love me. The first week, my children promised to visit often. And they did, at first. They came with flowers, with hugs, with guilty smiles. But soon, the visits grew fewer, the calls shorter. Days turned into weeks with no knock at my door. I watched other residents sit by the window, waiting for families that never came. I told myself I was different, that my children loved me, that they would come back. But as the seasons changed outside my window, I began to realize I was just another old woman, waiting for footsteps that never arrived. On my birthday, the staff brought me a cupcake with one candle. They sang softly, their voices kind but detached. I closed my eyes and made a wish: "Please, let my children remember me today." But the phone never rang. I began to make friends with the other residents. We shared stories of younger days, of loves lost, of children who once clung to us and now rarely called. There was comfort in knowing I wasn't alone in my pain, but also sorrow in seeing how common it was. One woman whispered to me, "We give them everything, and in the end we are too much." I held her hand, tears in both our eyes, because I knew she was right. Sometimes, late at night, I dream of my old home, the creak of the porch, the smell of John's pipe, the laughter of children running through the halls. I wake up disoriented, staring at sterile walls and fluorescent lights, realizing I will never see that home again. I'm grateful for the nurses who care for me, but they cannot fill the emptiness left by children who chose convenience over love. And so, each day, I sit by the window. I watch cars pass by, wondering if one of them will turn into the lot and bring me a familiar face. Most days, none do. One day, my children will come. Maybe it will be out of guilt, maybe out of obligation. And one day, they will come not to visit, but to say goodbye. I pray when that day arrives, they will remember not the frail woman in a nursing home, but the mother who gave them everything, the wife who loved their father fiercely, the woman who built a family with her whole heart. Until then, I will keep waiting, even if it breaks me. Because that is what mothers do. We wait, we hope, we love, even when that love is not returned.